her with a camera.
I know, right? Let me close the door. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be talking about a pretty serious topic, or story time. I went through some traumatic things dealing with my stepmom that I'm going to discuss in the video. And this video is not to bash her or to make her seem like a villain, but at the time she was definitely a villain. She was a devil in disguise, and she really tainted my childhood. This video is also to tell you guys that it is okay to forgive. You can forgive, even if the person is not sorry, but I have not forgotten, and that's why I'm making this video, because I just want to bring, you know, someone else a light that might be in that situation or dealing with an unfair step parent. So, you know, I had a diary, and I would write everything in the diary. I would write every feeling I had. I wrote down everything. And of course, sometimes, you know, I would call her all types of stuff in that diary because that's how I felt. And I felt like I was being treated unfair at a certain point. Initially, she had treated me just like one of her own, just like one of her children. She, you know, it was perfect. But then she really started to make a difference with me and her kids. For instance, like she started doing my hair. Initially, she would me and her daughter both had perms, and we're a year apart, so we had a lot of things in common. So she started off doing our hair, and when she started doing my hair was like really short, really damaged. I didn't have a perm, but I didn't know how to take care of my hair. So she started taking care of my hair. It started to grow like wildfire. Like she knew what she was doing, because her daughter's hair was like down her back, like almost to her butt. And so she started doing my hair, and it started growing like crazy. Once my hair started growing like that, I think, you know, I really took pride in my hair. I was so happy to see it like flourishing. Once she saw how happy I was in my hair, she just stopped doing it and was doing her daughter's hair, washing her daughter's hair, and wouldn't do my hair anymore when I was like 13 years old. So that scarred me, because then my hair started breaking off, and I'm like, why won't you do my hair? And I see you doing your daughter's hair every week, and my hair is like breaking off, and she's looking at me like, why is your hair breaking off? Like that was mentally mind-boggling and hurtful to me, because now you're making a difference. Like you start off doing something, and then it's like you just kind of left me out to fend for myself, and which I did. And me and my dad did the best we could with my hair, and that was it. You know, it is what it is. So I started seeing signs of jealousy, but I wanted to tell you guys about the diary. So like I said, I wrote everything in a diary. I would write in the diary like every night. One night I went to write in my diary, and I noticed it was not in my nightstand. So I'm like, that's weird, because I put it in the bottom drawer. I know exactly where, you know, where I keep it. I put something on top of it to make sure it's hidden and nobody sees it. But I went to get my diary, and it wasn't there. So my heart immediately dropped, because I'm like, who stole my diary? Come to find out, the next day I get called downstairs, and they're in the theater room, and I see my diary sitting right in between them. So I'm like, really? Like, I could not believe these people had taken my diary, let alone read it. So they sat me down and was like, so we found your hate book. And I'm like, that's my diary. And they're like, nope, this is a hate book. So that's how they were able to, I guess, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I know what I'm trying to say, I just don't know the words. That's how they justified taking my diary, because they referred to it as a hate book instead of a diary, because at that time I did hate her. I felt like she wronged me. It's so many things that I'm not going to talk about all of them, but here you will get a gist of what some of the things that I wrote. But long story short, I wrote exactly how I felt about her in the diary. She read the diary, went over every page with me in front of my dad, punished me for writing what I wrote in the diary. And of course I wrote about her, and she read all that. She saw the pictures I drew about her, or drew of her, and I probably gave her a black eye on one of the pictures, because that's how I felt. But yeah, so I just, you know, they did read my diary, and I felt like that was the biggest type of betrayal, or that was just so wrong. I felt like that was just such an invasion of privacy. Like, I could see if I was, you know, running away, or, you know, doing drugs or being disrespectful. I could see, but I was like, in my opinion, I was an ideal child. My grades were excellent at that time. They got a little rocky at the end of high school, but I've always had, you know, A's and B's. So they really didn't have a reason to read my diary, but they did, and I was on like a strict punishment after they read it because they said it was a hate book. And I'll basically just, I'm not gonna tell you guys the punishment. I might mention that at the end of the video, but that's kind of irrelevant. But I was on like a strict punishment for writing my diary. Okay, so that was just one of the traumatizing experiences I went through. Another thing I went through, just to give you guys a little backstory, when I was a kid, like all the way, basically from ages like as soon as I could write until, I don't know, when they stole my diary, I used to be a writer, and I used to be so creative, and I'm still a creative person. I guess I just matured a little bit, but back then I used to write and draw and make poems and make raps, and I was just a creative person. I would love to write. So normally after I would get done writing a song or a poem, I would want to go ahead and perform it for somebody. Like somebody got to see my hard work, what I just did, because I would be proud of it. I got done writing my poem, I took it to her, and I had the paper in my hands, the notebook in my hands, and I was just like, do you want to hear my poem I just wrote? And she says, she looks at me, turns around as we're walking up the stairs, and pauses and says, I really don't. I'm sorry, I really don't. At that moment, my heart shattered. And I don't know what about that situation. Maybe because my real mom, like if I would have asked her, Mama, you want to hear what I just wrote? She would love to hear, you know, or see a drawing I did, you know. Maybe I just wanted her to be proud of me. And when she said no, she didn't want to hear it, I was just so shocked. And I go in my room and just cry. Which might not be a huge deal, but to me it was a lot of stuff that I was like, why? What did I do? And so of course when Dad gets home, my heart is still broken. I run to my dad, I'm like, yeah, I asked her if she wanted to hear my story, and she looked at me and shook her head no. And it really bothered him, because it's like, why would you hurt her like that? But and later to come, and that was right after my birthday, and so apparently it was because the reason she said no is because my birthday was the day before, and when I had a party at the skating ring that my real mom threw for me, she came to pick me up, and because I didn't introduce her to my whole family, but I had just turned like 12 or 13, because I didn't introduce her, she thought I was disrespecting her, or I had just really wronged her because I didn't show her off like, this is my stepmom. But anyway, that was that. So that was the reason she had said no, she didn't want to hear my story. It's really not a huge deal, but at the time it was a huge freaking deal, because I had spent my time, I wanted to show somebody like, look what I did, like look what I created, and I was 12 or 13. So just to be rejected like that, and by someone who's supposed to be your mom, who doesn't want to hear you, and who's already making a difference between her children and you feel that difference every day. So after she said no, she didn't want to hear my poem, not because she was busy, not because, you know, she had an errand to run, but because she just didn't want to hear it. She didn't give me any type of explanation. She just said, no, I really don't. That hurt me. I went in my room and I cried like a baby. Number one, I cried because my dad wasn't there so I could run to him and tell him my poem. My mom wasn't there, mainly because I didn't live with her at that moment. But I know if anyone, I would have got a totally different reaction if one of them had been there. And to get that cold, nasty response was so hurtful, so hurtful. I know she would never do her kids like that. One day she was doing laundry, and just to kind of give you guys a picture, a scenario, I was sitting on the couch, my dad was sitting on the other side of the couch, or on the other side of the room, and she was in the middle of the floor separating laundry. And at that time, you guys know, I had hit puberty and I started my period, and this was like the second time I started my period. I stained my underwear because I wasn't on a schedule, because it was like my second time, so I didn't know exactly when it was going to come, and so it came and I stained my underwear, and she was doing laundry. And so I see my soiled underwear in the laundry pile, and I'm like, oh shoot. Like, my first instincts were just to go and run it and pick it up and like go back upstairs with it, because my dad is on the other side of the room, and I definitely didn't want him to see the underwear because that's just like, that's disgusting for your dad to see, let alone anyone to see, but especially a man and your dad to see you just started your period. I was really secretive. Like, that's something so personal, and I feel like I didn't have another woman to go through that with. So I kind of went through it by myself, and I just didn't want nobody to know. He didn't know I even started it. So I guess that's why I was so like, wow, like, because I didn't tell him. I wasn't gonna tell him I started, but she told him for me in the most humiliating way. So she picks up my soiled underwear, holds it in the air, and looks at me and says, this is unacceptable, this is nasty, you can't be doing this. And at that moment, I just wanted to wring her neck, because I was hurt, number one, and all anger comes from hurt. So I was hurt for the fact that she humiliated me like that, took my underwear and showed my dad my stained underwear in front, and her kids might have even been in the room. So it was just a really humiliating experience for me, traumatizing. I just felt disgusted with myself. I felt like I was nasty for that. And I didn't really know how to cope with that. I just felt like, dang, like maybe I need to do my own laundry. But that was traumatic for me, embarrassing, and a moment that I will never forget. So I hope you guys enjoyed this story time, or whatever you want to call it. Please comment down below some video suggestions, or anything else you want to see here on my channel, and I will be more than happy to do it for you guys. Don't forget to thumbs up if you enjoyed. If you want to see more story times, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.